All right, Maddie, welcome back to the Ask Maddie show. We're going to have a great show today, team. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk a lot of great topics today. You guys had some great questions today. We're going to talk about Casper Association new CTO, not Casper Labs. We announced this year or discussed in detail about Greg Whalen becoming the new CTO, but now we got a new CTO for the Casper Association. So you guys got that mixed up. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about, is it the right time to buy HBAR? We're also going to talk about this custom seed phrase word, or it's just like a little pin you could add to your ledger or Trezor. And some of you didn't know about this, and me and Maddie were just discussing before the show about it. And when I set up my first wallets on my Trezor, I didn't know it was a thing, and it wasn't until later I was like, oh, it's a hidden wallet. And so we'll discuss that, maybe about Ondo, maybe about some of you guys that aren't as tapped into some crypto projects that you think you are. You guys aren't paying that close attention. You guys think you guys have the perfect crypto projects, and the ones we pick are wrong. So we're going to discuss that, and maybe some Ripple execs promoting and prompting up Kamala Harris. We're going to discuss this all, team. But before we get into the Ask Maddie show, team, become a CryptoCharge member. Click the pin link down below, take you directly to our website. CryptoCharge.com is where you can get educated on crypto. Use code YouTube when signing up, and you'll have access to the tools, the daily shows, the Discord. Do that, team, and we would love to see you there and join our community. Maddie, we're about to get into it here. Are you excited, first of all, because we're discussing, you said this before the show, you're like, wow, we got some very interesting questions today.
Yeah, I do think these are really good questions. I mean, you guys always bring some interesting stuff every week, but I think these are probably some of the more interesting questions I've seen over the past few weeks. So I'm excited to talk about some of these things today and hopefully provide some clarity on some of the things you guys are curious about.
Let's do it. Cycle Trades 999 says, is it the right time to buy HBAR?
I think it's a good time to buy HBAR. In the grand scheme, like if I had to set like a DCA limit for myself, I think under like 6.5 cents is a really, really good bargain for HBAR. We definitely see the long-term vision for HBAR. HBAR is represented in my top 10 holdings in my crypto portfolio. And you guys can view my crypto portfolio. That's updated semi-regularly on CryptoCharge.com. Let's go ahead and jump to the charts though here, team. Let's take a look together and see what's going on with the HBAR chart. I'm actually going to strip this bad boy all the way down to bare bones for you guys. We're going to rebuild it back together just to also show you guys how easy chart building can be if you put a little bit of time into your understanding of how it all works. So let's go ahead and just kind of take a gander at the larger structure here of HBAR. So here on the Binance chart, we have a big illiquidity wick back here in 2019, big sell-off here from that 33-cent mark, big little capitulation here. So again, does this not look like a lot of charts that you guys have seen here? This sure looks like one of my favorite charts, the Casper chart, where you get unfortunate timing, really, really nasty selling, this little bottom that comes in here, and then eventually you get some nice reversals. Now, let's go ahead and mark up some of our big levels of support and resistance in here. So obviously that's a big support level there. It's that old support level. And then we also want to mark up kind of like the top of zone here. So this is going to be where we had a lot of resistance here from 2020, again here in August of 2020, and then you finally get the breakout in 2021. As we come back into the bear market and we don't really touch these levels throughout the entire bull market here in 22, all the way through October 22, little dip below, lots of contention all through this level. So this level right around the 5.6 cent mark has really, really been meaningful to the market. If we also kind of take into account some of the other key levels that we've identified here, obviously there's a lot of imbalance up higher, but if we're looking at key support levels now, if you guys wanted to set some limits and you guys wanted to really be a little bit more aggressive with your, let's go into the 3-day chart here, be a little bit more aggressive with it. You guys could set a limit right around the 4-cent mark. We had a lot of interaction here in December, big reversal here in January, huge bounce back here in June. So if we were to interact with that level again, right around 4 cents, I would maybe look to pick up a limit there. However, underneath this like 5.6 cent, if I kind of just grab a little bit of top where this pivot zone is like 6.7. So 5.6 to 6.7 cent area. If you guys are able to continue to build a position underneath those levels, I think that that's going to put you in a spot for long-term success, as well as flexibility in either dumping the entirety of your position in this cycle or keeping some of it. These are the kind of prices that really set you up for success. We also look left to right here. You guys can see that the HBAR chart has actually done a pretty good job of making a consistent series of higher highs and higher lows, right? And I think that's where this chart is heading. And I think that we are going to be making some significant new all-time highs for HBAR. If we also go ahead and grab our Fibonacci and we go from the most recent cycle high, cycle low, we did clear out that 236. But if we were to reach a new all-time high of, let's say, like 91 cents from current market price, that is roughly like almost like a 17x opportunity, which really is something that I think is worth considering when you have the high level of utility. You have something like with HBAR as well as the hash graph model. So I really like it at current market price. Of course, I can't tell you what price is going to do exactly. All we can do is mark up levels, take probabilities to our favor, and go ahead and swing the bat when we feel comfortable. And I'm very comfortable under 6 or 7 cents to DCA into HBAR here.
HBAR got really expensive there. Don't pass up this opportunity now. Dan the Man Z6G says, didn't Casper Labs change their CTO back in June? It looks like they replaced their CTO yet again. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, so like we've talked about many times, like it's very easy to quickly read a headline and then go, wow, I can't believe they did that. But if we do a little bit of reading comprehension, we can see that there's a lot of times differences between the foundation and associations. And sometimes there's multiple nonprofit entities that surround one single project, right? Like, even to this day, we still have this confusion where people are like, well, this Ripple has announced this, so this means this for XRP, but it's not necessarily a one-for-one relationship. Greg Whalen is still CTO of Casper Labs, and that's really the bread and butter of what you guys need to know when it comes to developers. Like, when you look at the Casper Labs team, that's the big team, right? That's where all the devs are, that's where the CTO is, that's where the CEO is. That's the bread and butter of everything that's actually the driving force behind the creation of all of the elements for the Casper project. The Casper Foundation, the Casper Association is really more of like a board of overseers that kind of comes up with ideas about adoption and marketing and things like that. So Greg Whalen's still very much current CTO. You guys can see on his LinkedIn here actually says June 2024 to present. One other thing quickly, Brett, if we could take a look at here is I want you guys to look at this CTO, and we've talked about this previously, about it's very, very normal to see job hopping, and it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the company. It's just a very normal thing in tech. You can see here that previously he was only at his job before this for 2 years. He had a 5-year stint over at Amazon, just 3 years at Pivotal Incorporated, Experian 4 or 5 years, 3 years over, doing just some independent work as a VP over there. It's very normal for these guys to take 5 years or less and be able to move jobs to be able to make more money. So he isn't going anywhere. I think that he's going to be a good CTO. He has a lot of experience, but it's very normal to see CTO changes.
I was telling Maddie before the show yesterday, or now a couple days ago, I was in the Telegram, and everyone was, if you're in the Telegram channel, not the announcement channel, but the other channel where it's a free-for-all, it gets a little dirty in there. It's like a zoo in there, and everyone talks out the side of their neck, and you had the co-founder of Casper Labs in there trying to make his case, but he said, he was like, full transparency is going to be on within the next 48 hours. And honestly, that scared me a little bit. And I dropped into the Discord and I was like, well, let's wait and see. And so this is what came out of it. New CTO for Casper Association. And they had a couple other announcements. They got the Casper AMA, which is a literal free-for-all. They have like preset questions and they answer them. But you can join that Wednesday, 7 a.m. When you're watching the show right now, it's already happened. So you can go back and look at that and look at their most recent questions. But every time I've watched it, it's been like a complete free-for-all afterwards. They ask the most random questions. You got people asking there about price action. You got people asking about inflation, the token inflation. And it's just like, it's the same thing every single Casper AMA. So you can go check that out if you want to. But nothing to stress here, Maddie, is there?
No, nothing to stress in my opinion. Again, I think that everyone gets all this anticipation on information that hasn't even been released yet, right? Like, and what's that going to do for you, right? Like, all you're doing is stealing the piece of today with the worries of tomorrow, and that's just useless to me. That's useless brain power, useless emotional power. So I'm not going to waste any time on that, and I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I'll tell you that much.
Adam says, do you use the added security of adding a custom 25th seed phrase word for your ledger? Just learned it was an option last week.
Yeah, so this is something I'm currently not employing with my own personal security on Ledger. Probably a better way to actually phrase, it's not a 25th seed phrase word because it's not a word. It's actually considered like a BIP39 passphrase. So all the words that we see that come from classic seed phrases come from the BIP39 protocol. So this being a passphrase, so that's usually going to be like a 4-digit PIN, like you would have for your ATM, or I'm sure lots of things on your phone. You have either facial recognition or a 4-digit PIN as your backup. So what you're able to do is, if if you assign a 4-digit PIN, and you can do this multiple times, is you can actually toggle between different sets of wallets. So you're still utilizing the same set of seed phrases as the main security for backing up all the wallets. So all the wallets are still backed up using those 24 seed phrases, but you can toggle between basically multiple sets of sub accounts utilizing different passphrases. So that is an option. It doesn't add additional security per se, maybe a little bit, but really it's more about the additional feature of expanding. Let's say you have your long-term holds, let's say you have your short-term holds, and then you have the, hey, I'm not selling this for 30 years. This is going to take care of my kids in 30 years wallet, right? And you could have 3 different sets of, passphrases to toggle between those. So that's really going to be the higher function of that. But definitely go ahead and utilize it if you want to have more flexibility when it comes to, toggling between wallets.
Shaw says, build a position on Ondo. Any thoughts on this?
So I've definitely heard the Ondo ticker. I want to say that, Gavin, maybe we've actually charted to Ondo on the show a few times, guys. Technical Tune Up Friday is one of my favorite segments, and our team loves the segment as well. We take all of your guys' ticker requests and we do them all on Friday. So that's why this name is actually resonating with me a little bit right now. So come check us out. We do really, really in-depth analysis on any of your guys' picks. So I know Ondo is a DeFi platform. I know that they're also focused on tokenizing real world assets, but I think that's probably where my knowledge base stops when it comes to Ondo. Again, I get flooded with hundreds of tickers a month basically to look at. So it's hard for me to remember absolutely everything. But what we can do, as always, is take a quick look at the charts here. Again, we're not going to do a full blown out analysis, but we can take a quick look here for you guys and kind of just see what's going on with the Ondo chart. So we've got the crypto chart here. It's definitely been a very, very aggressive climb here for Ondo. One of the things I really want you guys to be aware of too is a lot of people get very excited on launch, and especially if price just continues to do well. Look at this launch here. We got January of this year. We were already hot, from the market from October of last year. So again, this is just really, really good timing in here. You have seen a little bit of decline from the highs in there. So from the local high here that was set on June 3, price did pull down about 65%. Currently it's down about 58-60% from those local highs. We do have some support and resistance in here. Again, it is always a little bit more difficult when you don't have as much price action to make definitive decisions. One of the things that we want to see done here on a more bullish sense for this particular chart is reclaiming that 72-cent mark. It's kind of one of the only places where we've built a meaningful floor of support. We can see here from March of 22 all the way through May of 24. You got this big break higher, and as we came back down to test this area, we got a couple bounces in here, but then you lost that level. So that is going to be an important level to reclaim. You guys can also see that big 50-day moving averages coming in as a big wet blanket there. I think that if it was up to me and I were to say, hey, I really want to add to this position, I want to be making some meaningful moves to lower my average, I would probably be targeting this liquidity pocket down here right around the 42-cent mark. Now, does it happen? I couldn't tell you, right? Bitcoin looks strong again. We're seeing Bitcoin, get back above that 60K mark. We're seeing some follow through. We have the Fed meeting coming up here, so that's definitely going to be something that we have to consider. But when you guys look at where that potential downside is, it could be minus like 30% to the downside. So you might be able to get a really good discount, even if the market to do rally on positive cut news and then end up maybe selling off a little bit more. That would be kind of the area that I'd be targeting. One of the things that I do want you guys to consider is you look at some of the projects like Mantis and a handful of others that had kind of like this crazy launch structure. A lot of them do end up reclaiming a lot of that previous launch liquidity, like upwards of 70 or 80%. So if you get the opportunity to get into one of these projects that keeps going up, and let's say you're up 4 or 5x and it's a brand new project, it's probably a good idea to take some chips off the table, right? Like at least take out some of your initial investments so that you're like de-risking a bit. And then you can always add and look to get a little bit cheeky with it as time goes on. But especially when you're getting involved with projects that are getting the benefit of bullishness based on...
You see me fall in my chair?
It's all right. Gavin's
happened before, right? Remember I was talking about this?
Special earthquakes where Gavin is. But my point being, guys, if you have a brand new project and it's launched in a period of extreme bullishness, take every impulse as a gift. Don't get greedy with it. And do not assume that it will always just keep going up. I've seen plenty of full corrections, minus 70, 80% after that initial set of impulses and excitement kind of fades out a little bit.
API 3 was a great example. I feel like we're going to hold our hat on that one forever for this whole rest of this year. But Crow says, the problem is of the 40 or so cryptos I hold, red flag right there, Crow. Sorry, bro. I've never seen a problem with HBAR, problem with Solana, problem with Render, problem with Energy Web Token. Nope, just the number 7 or 8 crypto by market cap always being talked about by people who don't like it. Weird. I think he's referring to us on that one. I think it is going to be part of the future digital commerce system. If it is, I'm right. If it is not, I'm wrong. And I couldn't care less that it is decided. So Maddie, I was trying to explain this to you because this was like a very convoluted question here. I think he's referring to us that there's no issues with the cryptos that he holds, but seemingly with our cryptos, there's problems. And I'm pretty sure you'll debunk that when you get into it right now. But also, too, about, this market cap thing. I don't know if we've ever said anything close to that, where this guy's saying, oh, the number 7 or 8 crypto by market cap always being talked about by people who don't like it. I don't think we ever really shit on cryptos that are being well received, well adopted, and have great communities. I don't think we've ever done that. Maybe Solana is the only one, Maddie, I can really think of.
Well, and it's not even so much shitting on it. It's just calling a spade when you see it, brother. That's all it is. Like, when you see that there's multiple network outages in a 12-month period, like, it's not saying that like, oh, this can't be fixed or this can't be improved, but it is concerning when you see multiple outages, right? Like I know that, look at how quickly the Casper community turned on each other after one outage, right?
Yeah.
Like that was one outage after, more than a year of being online. Solana, and has all this load on it, gets multiple DDoS attacks, it has multiple instances where it has to go down. Of course, you got a much bigger team on Solana, so it comes back a lot quicker. But nonetheless, like they are things that we should notate as concerns on the network. Now, again, I'm not a person who is ignorant to the idea that tech is always going to continue to be ironed out over time. Windows will always have new versions. Even within that version, you're going to have patches and patches and patches. Sometimes those issues last for a day. Sometimes they last for a couple of weeks and people are really irritated. Some users are affected more than other users. So I accept that there is kind of just always in a ongoing learning curve and improvements that's going to happen with the networks. And especially as that load and demand increases, I promise that we are going to have more outages on these networks. But when you have a large amount in a short period, that does spark a little bit of concern, right? Now, maybe you're also referring to some of the titling that we have for our YouTube content here. And that also applies to the questions that you guys ask, right? Or the comments that you guys leave on our content, right? Like we'll be talking about XRP, for example, and then you guys will say, hey, well, this is the problem with XRP. We don't like this, this, and this. So of course, that's the topic of the show. So we go ahead and discuss it, whether we agree with it or not. So again, guys, like you have to think about titling a little bit here, right? Like you guys all ended up here one way or another, right? And it's not because you guys woke up one day and typed in cryptocharge.com just from, waking up from a dream and ended up here, right? Like there was some marketing that went into this. There's some titling. So like, let's just be realistic here about that. So it's never about us really just coming in here and wanting to put down projects or communities or innovators without actually discussing the facts associated with that. So if you guys don't like the facts associated with that, that's fine. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, everything's fine. Every crypto is perfect. And, I'm never going to say anything bad about any crypto, including stuff that I hold, right? Like I feel like we plenty of the time, we'll pick apart some of the stuff that we don't like about, any of our own projects. But, that's just a healthy part of an analysis, is that you have to be realistic about everything that's happening, good, bad, and the ugly.
Realistic about everything that's happening. And Crow, there are problems with HBAR. HBAR went down March 9th through 11th, so that was an outage. That's a problem right there. Solana network's been down plenty of times. Render's too expensive, and I think Energy Web Token's just perfect. So, hey, man, listen, like, there's nothing perfect. And, coming off the backs of the Casper network halt, listen, this is why we didn't sell our Casper. Okay, we didn't sell our Casper because these things have happened, right? The timing was unfortunate, right? I didn't sell my HBAR last year when they had an outage. I don't currently hold Solana, but that is like, we don't sell because of that reason that happens. It was an unfortunate timing, and that's why that didn't happen. But even with your assets, Crow, those have seen problems. Those have had issues, the same issues that Casper just recently went through. So I'm not interested to hear about, what you think. So anyways, Maddie, anything to tie up with this before we talk about Kamala Harris for the 8th time this year?
No, I think we tidied that one up pretty well. Nothing's perfect, but as long as the positives outweigh the negatives, then I think we can continue with those projects as long as the fundamentals continue to be promising and roadmaps are being delivered on, and there's communication between the team and the community, right? Like I think those are the things that keep us moving forward.
BB says Ripple exec supporting Kamala is all you need to know. Dump it. So we got to dump our XRP now, since Chris Larson is promoting Kamala Harris.
Grow the fuck up. I mean, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Grow the fuck up. Like I just can't imagine how you guys go about your everyday lives. Like your poor spouses, your poor partners. Like if this is how like binary you see the world, like we're investors. At least I hope that we're investors. Most of us are investors, right? Some of us also have the enthusiast side of it. And I know a lot of you guys don't have that enthusiast side when it comes to the technology, and that's fine. I don't need everyone to be jumping up and down about multi-sig, upgrades and stuff. Like I completely understand that if you don't come from a love of tech your entire life, that a lot of this stuff is going to be very boring and mundane and you really don't care. It's about about, how much money it can make you. Now, of course, that's my bigger, excitement and goal with all of this is to make money, right? Like I'm not, everything I hold is not like, oh, well, I just really love the tech. I know this price is never going to go up, but I hold the tech. That's never the case for me. But when we look at, first of all, again, Ripple is a company that utilizes a digital asset XRP. They don't own the digital asset XRP, right? Like they own lots of it, but they don't have control over the XRP network. He could come out and have said, I'm voting for Trump. I'm voting for a third-party candidate you've never heard. And it would have not have changed what I'm going to do with my XRP at all. You guys are some of the most emotional people I've ever met when it comes to investing. And there's plenty of people in the stock market that probably, act this way, but not at the caliber that you guys act in the crypto community when it comes to this kind of stuff. It only takes one little toothpick falling out of the house for you guys to just, to throw the baby out with that bathwater. It's really just blows my mind. Eventually, if you want to stay in the space, you are going to have all kinds of people that you come across. They're going to have vastly different ideology than you, right? Like you probably hold projects now and there are people on the team that are huge executives and big developers and everything. And they probably hold complete opposite political, religious views than you, right? Like, and if you're going to start to make decisions based on what those people, religious or political affiliations are, like you're never going to make any money. You never will, right? Like it's the same as people being like, man, I hate that Jeff Bezos. I would never support him, but you still use Amazon. Oh, I hate the Walton family. I know I'm going to see your ass at Walmart. You guys have no problem making that distinction in regular life. But somehow when it comes to crypto, you guys have to like put everything on this moral high hill of like, well, I know that Trump's going to fix crypto and he said he likes Kamala, so we better dump XRP. Like, come on, like that's just absolute nonsense. It's very childish. And like, I really don't think you belong in this space at all. If that's how you're going to make your decision making, sell it to me. Sell me your XRP super cheap. I couldn't care less if you're part of the space or not. You don't matter to the market as much as you think you do. Banks, institutions, and wealthy people do. You and I just ride the waves with them. So again, you go ahead and dump your probably 2,000 XRP. I'll go ahead and buy them from you at pennies on the dollar and reap some great rewards from that, because I promise you, regardless of whoever wins this presidency, XRP will still be worth $8 or more by the end of this next bull cycle.
Clip that. That was awesome. That's a great little tagline right there. I was also looking at Myrno, the CEO of Casper Labs. He has that little hair thing that like droops over his face right now. And I was looking over him like, oh, I kind of look like him right now. We gotta someone take a picture of that and put his face right next to mine. It looks uncanny.
That's a hate crime.
Anyways, team, thank you for joining us today. I think you got a lot of good things here. Should you be buying HBAR right now? Absolutely. Should you, not be freaking about the new CTO change at Casper Association? Chill out. Okay, there's nothing going on, nothing major that's going on now. Red flags would have been popping up if Greg Whalen was there for 2.5 months or not even 3 months. And I was like, oh yeah, we're getting a new guy. Then I would be like, you know what? That's a little odd. That's happening at a different pace there. So I'd be worried about that. And then just about some of the cryptos you guys hold, and then about if you're referring to Chris Larson, which I think is what you were about Kamala. Team, chill out. All right, we're trying to make money here. All right, get off our case. I think we talked a lot of good things today, and we're over. So we're gonna have to leave you guys now. If you got something valuable here, make sure you leave a like. If you have any questions, good questions, like you guys left some good ones today. Leave it in the comment section down below, and if they're good, I will pull them up. But Maddie, we will see them on After Hours next week on Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific. So make sure you stay tuned for that and turn on the freaking bell. Hit that bell right next to the subscribe button so you're showing up for our premieres, because if you don't watch that premiere and drop your questions won't make it for the Ask Maddie show later that week. And if you want your questions, if that matters to you, you need to be showing up for those premieres, because I know a lot of you do, and you drop the great questions like we've seen here today. And then we have great things to talk about, which is very helpful for the community here. So team, thank you for joining us. We will see you guys next week. Bye.